Welcome everyone to the Ndumodo Show. I'm your host, Dr. Uwa Onyoha Osimere. I'm also the president of the African Women Mobilization Commission. We are a non-profit organization that's based here in the United States, but we do some work internationally. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this very important show. Not our culture, it's criminality. Today, I'm going to talk about a problem that festers all over the world, and that is the abuse of women. And unfortunately, what happens is, yes, we have advocates, we have people who are fighting for the rights of women. But sometimes what happens is it makes the front pages and then it disappears. And then because of that, you have the abuse continues. But you see, it's time that we stop making excuses why we can't fight this ugliness. We must use our voices. We must use protests, whatever it takes. We must protect women. Women are vital to the survival of any nation. That goes without saying. And it becomes our responsibility to protect them, to make sure that they do not continue to be abused. Today, although I'm talking about gender abuse in general, but I'm also going to be focusing on rape parties or rape festivals, as they call them. And these happen in Nigeria. Now, this is not a blanket statement about all life in Nigeria. However, this is something that is happening and needs to be addressed. I'm a Nigerian woman, and I know that this happens. So this is not something I heard. This is not something I was told. This is something I know takes place. And it has to stop. It has to stop. We're no longer going to wait on anybody to do something. We're not going to wait on anybody to talk about it. We're going to have to talk about it. We have to be a part of change. This is change that must happen. Women deserve better. Now, before we dive into this program, I would like to ask for your support for the organization, the African Women Mobilization Commission. Our mission is mobilization of women, philanthropic work, advocacy, culture, and training. You can visit awmcglobal.org to find out a little bit more about us. If you want to support the Ndumodo Show, as we hope that you would, subscribe to Ndumodo TV on YouTube. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can contact us at the ndumodoshow@gmail.com. I'd like to thank you so very much for joining us today. It is imperative that we have this conversation. And for those mothers and fathers and young men and women, come to the front. This is about you. This is about you. Pay attention. It's very important that all of us are engaged in eradicating this ugliness. And it isn't because it's only pertinent to Nigeria, but I speak as a Nigerian. So it's of interest to me that it doesn't continue to fester in my country. Now, there are some things, people have different names for it. Some people call it rape parties or rape festivals. But there was an event that drew the attention of everybody to what this is. It's not necessarily something new per se. It is something that, because thank God, of course, we've got the internet. The internet got wind of it, and it just became viral. And then it called attention to this horrific event that happened. It's called the Ozoro party. And it happened, I believe it was March 2026, this year actually. A disturbing video surfaced from a community event in Ozoro, in Delta State, Nigeria, showing women being harassed and assaulted by groups of men. These videos quickly went viral, leading to public outrage and demands for accountability. The police and the government, everybody's trying to do something. Thank God for the podcasters, the influencers. They started making noise about it, and it drew a lot of attention to the point it could not be ignored. And this is something we cannot ignore. Our girls, our women deserve better. What is offensive to me is not so much, I mean, certainly it's offensive that it happens. What is offensive is that people watch it. How do you watch a woman being raped and abused and you're a man and that's okay with you? The men are supposed to be, at least that's what we're told, they're supposed to protect their communities. They're supposed to protect their women and their children. How do you see such a thing happening and you don't do anything about it? A lot of times what happens, people start taking pictures, videos. Videos don't help in the immediate, as the incident is happening, because a person quite easily could die while you're waiting to videotape them so they can take the videotape to court. That's not what. If you're a man and you see such a thing happening, you must intervene. That is your role. And you and women as well. If you're there and you see these things happening, you must intervene. Our women deserve better. You men have to take the time and talk to your sons. Talk to your sons and let them know that manhood is not determined by your ability to abuse others. Your manhood is not determined by your ability to rape women, to abuse women. Your manhood is determined by the actions you take to be a source of good in your community, to protect your women, your daughters, your aunties, your cousins, whomsoever, your female members of society. They should feel comfortable because you're there. They shouldn't run because you're there. There are some of these parties that the festival, some of the women are being told that you have to stay indoors while these festivals go on because there's a possibility that rape would occur. And so the women are encouraged to hide in their homes away from these parties because of the potential for rape. Why should that even be a consideration? Why should we allow this to be a consideration? We should let our sons know this is not what you do. You bring your gender down when you do something like this. This is not what you do. Your role is not to be the source of ill. You're supposed to be the source of strength, the source of power for your women. That's how you show that you're a man, by the positive things you do, not the negative things you do. Some men think, this is going to upset some men. That's okay. That's okay, because this is an affront on women, and it needs to be said. There are some men who think it's a boys will be boys. Hey, that's my boy. No. Your boy is a criminal if he's doing such a thing. You should not applaud him. You should lecture your sons, and mothers the same thing. Don't allow your daughters to be abused because you want them to stay in their married homes. If a man is abusing a woman, anyone who sees that should say it's wrong. And it's certainly very, very wrong when you go to these parties and these kinds of things are happening to girls. Our young girls deserve better. They shouldn't be ashamed to be women. They shouldn't be fearful to be women. They need to grow. They need the opportunity to grow. They need the opportunity to blossom, to go where they want to go, to be who they want to be. But when we allow these kinds of things to happen, any one of these young girls may not make it to womanhood. Either they are killed or they're just mentally and physically destroyed. It's imperative that we begin to see this as a very, very bad thing for the country, and we must do something. And it's going to take the community. It's not going to be just some people speak about it. It's going to take the police. Policing has to, if the police see that such a thing happens, because sometimes, these women they go to the police station to tell them that this happened to them. Sometimes the police people will just tell them, okay, we'll address it. And sometimes, as a matter of fact, if the perpetrator comes from a rich family, the rich family just pays and they're released. But we cannot continue this. We cannot continue this, so what we want to do everywhere we are, women, you in particular, women, listen, you don't need to be with men so badly that you will be in the presence of deviant men just so you can find a husband, just so you can find a boyfriend. No. If there are those kinds of people, they will hurt you. You know where those things are. Don't go. As we're fighting to ensure that you can go wherever you want to go, do not go where you know such a thing is going to happen. Don't be the source of your own of the tragedy on you. You must do whatever it is you can to stay away from such things. It is an imperative discussion that women must have with their daughters. Men, you fathers, have with your daughters, even those who don't have, the elders in the community. If you know a child doesn't have that kind of parental supervision, it takes a village to raise a child. Step in. We cannot continue to allow this to happen. So what do? We talk about the fact that these things happen. Yes, they do happen. So what do we do about it? We've got to do something about it. We start with education and awareness. We have to establish comprehensive educational opportunities in the community, in schools in particular. We need to let the boys, let the young men know, you don't do this. It is not acceptable behavior. It doesn't make you a man in any way or form. So it's an imperative that you are not engaged in these activities. You have a responsibility to be a protector. We have to teach this in schools. We have to put it up on the billboards that rape is unacceptable in our society. We need to speak about it, show them, talk about it in churches, talk about it in the news media. We've got to get that information out there. These young girls need to be protected. They need to be supported. They need to be respected. You see, what we do when we turn our backs is we reduce our society from where it should be. We reduce it, we bring it down. Every member of society should be happy to be a part of that society. But when you have a segment that's abused, ignored, that society is not healthy. That is not a healthy society. And so we must make sure that we educate our people that if you engage in these kinds of things, if you rape a woman, there are penalties. Way in the past, you touch a woman, you touch a man's daughter, and you're not married to her. And I'm talking about putting your hands on her. Let's not even talk about raping her. You can't do that. They will take you to the elders or they'll take you to the woodshed. If you survive it, you will never do it again. We need to see this as a very critical criminality, criminal behavior. Not boys will be boys. That's not what it is. It's criminal behavior. It's immorality. Our girls deserve better. And we have to get the community engaged. The community must be a part of this. We cannot say, oh, it's someone else's responsibility. We have to have dialogues. We have to have dialogue. This is part of the dialogue. I went online and I saw quite a bit of it. People talking about this incident, particularly what happened at the Ozoro Festival. We have to address anything that's cultural. culturally harmful. You know, people say, well, it's part of the culture. Well, it was part of the culture when they were hanging people from trees in the United States. When they were having parties around people that were hanging on trees. So let's be clear that culture changes. If you want it to change, you will change it. Any culture that subjugates anybody to such, to rape, to abuse of this nature, women being sodomized in front of men, and nobody says anything, and even women are warned. I mean, come on, people. It cannot continue. We must have dialogue to ensure that this is something that is killed. It cannot continue. The protection of our girls, of our children, is our responsibility, our collective responsibility. And the victims must have support. You know, what happens is the victims become the perpetrators in the minds of others. You know, it was their fault. What did they do? What did they do for this to happen to them? As a matter of fact, they are, and I know this for a fact, some mothers who will ask the child, the daughter who's been abused, what did you do to him? You must have done something for him to abuse you like that. We must stop blaming the victims. And that's quite frankly why a lot of the victims don't come forward. Because if they come forward, sometimes they're not believed. And if they're not believed, then there's no point in coming forward. We must provide them with psychological assistance. Because I tell you one thing, anybody who thinks that rape just goes away, it doesn't. The trauma that it leaves, sometimes it's just absolutely nothing that you can, you can't shake it off. It leaves trauma. I look at these women's faces. This is, for me, I was, unfortunately, after the war, I was a victim of at the hands of a soldier. So I know you want to just forget. You want close your eyes and just hope that it will go away. But that vision stays with you. When you open your eyes again, you see it. It's particularly worse if you don't have any kind of support. If nobody wants to listen to you, if people don't believe you. Gender-based violence stays with you. It stays with the victims. It doesn't go away. And we need to stop treating it as, okay, you know, get over it. Some people are even told to get over it. No, you don't get over it. You cannot get over it even if you wanted to, because it stays with you. So we must do all that we can to help the victims, for them to see that it's not their fault, that it's not their fault. Because once we make them think it's their fault, it will never go away. They don't heal. People don't heal. I remember when I was in high school, there was a young lady who, unfortunately, she was abused tremendously by her own father. It was her father that did that to her. And it was really, really, really very difficult for her. And she was in my class, and people laughed at her because she came to school. She was pregnant. She was impregnated by her father. And I know it sounds horrible. It is really horrible. But when the father got her pregnant, he tried to get an abortion. And the abortion didn't work. And this young girl was like 13. And she will come to school and she will smell so bad. She will smell so awful. And the kids will mock her, and she would, she would try to shrink away from all of that. But because of the odor coming from her, nobody wanted to be around her. But I ventured and I asked her why she was not, she was always smelling And she made it clear to me that it wasn't my business. I said, yes, it is my business. Something is definitely wrong. There's no reason why you smell that way. So eventually she broke down and she told me that she had been impregnated by her father, and she had had an abortion, but that evidently the abortion didn't go well. So I took her home with me, and I told my mother, and my mother, did what she had to do to clean her up so that she stopped smelling. Evidently the baby had half aborted, was still in her. I'm sorry, I apologize. It sounds morbid what I'm saying to you, but this was something that actually happened. And the fact of the matter was that her mother blamed her for what happened. And that's what I'm talking about. When the victim is blamed, the victim suffers for our refusal to listen to them, to make them understand that it's not their fault. So finally, thank God, she was cleaned up, and she didn't smell anymore. But can you imagine, there's so many such gender abuses and it's ignored. And sometimes it is those in your family that would actually not even allow you to speak about what's going on. So yes, I may offend some individuals today, but then if that's what's going to catch your attention about this matter, then so be it. Then so be it. It's imperative that we talk about this. It's imperative that we talk about this. The other problem that I think that needs to be solved is the policing. We must have policing reforms. Because as I indicated earlier, sometimes the police they're nonchalant about it. There's so much of it that sometimes it's like, okay, that's just another case. It's not just another case. We must not accept this as normal. It is not our culture. This culture of immorality and criminality has to stop, particularly against the very people who are the mothers of tomorrow. They are the mothers. They're if they're mentally abused, not just physically, because the activity is just not a mental, physical abuse, it's also mental. And these are going to be the mothers of tomorrow. And we allow these things to happen to them. We turn the cheeks. We turn the other way. We don't, or we take videos. The other day I was watching a video where a young woman was running down the street. This was here in the US. She was running down the street and she was being chased by a bunch of men where they caught up with her. And some men were just like, man, y'all not supposed to do that. But they're just taking videos. Man, put the camera down and step in. That's what you're supposed to do. Step in and protect her. But they watched these men abuse her, beat her up. Now, I don't know what she did. Perhaps she did something. But nobody deserves that. Women don't deserve that. Now, I certainly encourage women not to attack men, because you can't expect a man not to retaliate if his life is in danger at your hands. But for God's sake, unless it was something of that nature, no woman should be subjected to that. But I saw that, and you see that, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And we talk about it a little bit, then we move on. We'll talk about it again, then we move on, and it continues. It festers. I mean, it's not something that started today. It's something that has been ongoing. And because you allow it to fester, then you start to think of it as culture. It's not culture. Culture is dynamic. Culture changes. You can change that culture. Anything that's abusive to human rights must not be associated with culture. And if indeed it is, then that's a culture that must be terminated. Must be terminated. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back. We'll continue our conversation today. indeed. Yes, indeed. We must give women the respect they deserve. They need to be free of violence. They need to be free to go where they want to go within reasonable limits. Women deserve respect, and women are not toys. And it's imperative that the men see them as human beings, not toys. And they need to understand no means no. There is no pleasure in listening to a woman screaming because you are abusing her. If you want a woman to love you, you cannot inflict pain on her and expect her to be loving. The policing is important. It is imperative that our officers, police officers, are trained and in handling gender-based violence sensitively and effectively, and they must take rapid response, or make rather rapid response to incidents when they happen. They must not be looked upon as, oh, we'll get to it, as I indicated earlier, because what happens is eventually they become immune to the plight of these women. Social media responsibility. I think that it's important that the media does not focus on what the woman had on or what she was doing when she got attacked. The media, I've listened to some media influencers speak about the fact that, well, she knew better. Yes, I get that. She shouldn't have been there. The point of the matter is, well, yes, she shouldn't have been there, but the problem was not her necessarily at that moment. The problem was the rapists, the abusers. That's who you focus your attention, not what did she have on? What did she say to deserve that? Nobody deserves that. That's the point. Nobody deserves to be beaten just because she showed up somewhere. She should know not to show up. I said that earlier. Women should know. Don't show up where you'll be in danger. That's important. We get that. But at the same time, the focus must be on the perpetrators of the violence, not of the victims of the violence. The victim does not have to try to justify why she was victimized. And influencers, social media, they need to make sure that they're bringing attention to the perpetrators, not the victims alone. Certainly talk about the victims, what happened to the victims, but don't make the victims, by focusing so much on what happened, what they did that led to the event itself. Because then, everybody loves a little bit of media attention. So if the media sees the individual, the abusers, as not necessarily the focus of the reporting, some of these people do it and they just want to know what the media will say about what happened. Or they will do it so that the media will put attention on the victim. Listen, people have reasons why they do all kinds of crazy stuff, But the important thing is that if you're going to report it, make sure that you're reporting on behalf of the person who was victimized, provided the person did not do anything so drastic to deserve such victimization. To be clear, we need to certainly make sure that every human being respects other human beings. It doesn't make sense for any woman even to go and abuse anyone. So I'm not advocating for that. But at the same time, most of these abuses in these parties are not the women, it's the men. And so we need to make sure that the focus is on them, not the women. And I feel very strongly that by fostering a culture of respect and accountability, communities can work towards reducing the prevalence of gender-based violence. If we can foster a culture of respect. Here's the word, a culture of respect. Then we can minimize gender-based violence. And if a lot of times we devalue the women, there's some men who, if the wife births a girl, they're disappointed because they want a boy. Not that there's nothing, not that, everybody should be proud to have a son or a daughter, but you don't show favoritism towards the girl, towards the boys, that you prefer to have boys over girls. All right. So quite frankly, a lot of these young men are taught that they are superior to girls, to women. And then, unfortunately, some young women are taught to believe that they are inferior. And so when we have such disparity, lack of respect in our culture, then you have women treated as they're being treated. And I'm not just talking about Nigeria, all over the world. We need to change. We need to create a culture of respect and certainly accountability. Rape is not just a crime. Rape is not just a crime. Violence is not just a crime. It lives with the person long after the event has happened. It is not something you shake off. At some point, it rears its ugly head, and that affects the mood, self-esteem of the individual who was victimized. But what really makes it worse in Nigeria is how survivors are treated. They are treated like they're the ones who did something wrong. And when you think you did something wrong, you tend to accept what happens to you. If that's what people see, that it happened to you because you did something wrong, that the violence is your fault, for the most part, you're not going to speak up. You're not going to speak up. You're going to hide. And that stays with you. It stays with the woman for a long, long time. So instead of getting help, instead of these women going to get help, instead they run away, they hide. And if it happens again over and over, they still won't say anything because there are consequences for speaking up, because they're told to keep quiet. And culture has told them that a woman is expected to do certain things to avoid being abused. So it's imperative that the culture of silence and denial is stopped, because it's very dangerous. It lets abusers keep doing what they're doing, and while the survivors suffer alone. What did you do? What did you have on? The victims become not only that they've been victimized one time, they're victimized each time that they are ignored. They're victimized each time that the abuser is allowed to roam free. And that is why it's so important that the culture of silence must stop. It must stop. When society continues to pretend that rape is culture, it becomes a part of the fabric of that society. And victims continue to suffer. There was an incident of a 10-year-old girl that was living with her uncle, and she was supposed to be going to school. She got pregnant by this uncle, and the uncle sent her home, 10 years old, sent her home to the family and said it was her fault. Her fault in the sense that he had nothing to do with it, that the girl was messing around with other boys and this happened. Well, the little girl did everything she could within her power to try to convince the authorities that no, it wasn't her. It was actually this uncle who had agreed to send the child to school, but ended up doing this. And unfortunately, the family didn't believe her either. They blamed her because they were losing money now. This so-called uncle was giving them money to take care of the girl. Besides sending the child to school, she was working for him, cleaning up and all that sort of thing. But the other part, that rape part, was not part of the bargain. But he made it part of the bargain. But unfortunately, nobody believed her. That's that culture of silence and denial. He couldn't have done that. He was such a good man. As a matter of fact, the Ozoro Festival, my understanding is that they were actually individuals who were a part of that event who were officials. Think about that. They were officials. Community officials were part of that. I mean, when I look at that picture, I'm just flabbergasted. Look at all the men watching abuse happen. It's not, for me, it's not something that I could just talk about one day and let it go and go about my business. We shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be that way. We should believe the women when they come forward, and we should stop blaming them for what happened to them, because nobody deserves it, no matter who they are. Nobody deserves it. The law must work better. So must our hearts. The law can do so much. The rest of it, we have to do. That is why back then, men did not do these things, because other men stepped in to let them know we don't do like we don't act like that. Oh, and the men, you touch their daughters, you're asking for trouble. You cannot mess with another man's daughter. But these days, she's lucky if she's believed. She's lucky if she's believed. So it's really, really very important that we don't turn away. We don't make this the responsibility of somebody else. It is our collective responsibility. From now on, any time that you see or you know your friend did such a thing, if you're a young man and you know that your friend is abusing girls, don't be quiet about it. Because quite frankly, you're complicit. If you know, you're complicit. Because as long as the person can get away with it, knowing that people who know are not going to say anything, they'll continue to do it. They have to be held accountable. Women deserve to be treated with utmost respect. They deserve to be free. They deserve to be protected, free of violence. And it's up to us to make sure that this does not continue to happen. We cannot continue to turn our backs on these women. It's bad enough to be attacked in the manner that, gender abuse is bad as it is. But it's even worse when we just go about our business or even tune them out, because there's so much of it happening. We don't even want to. I mean, sometimes some of it is so bad. Some of it is so bad that people don't even want to believe that other people can do something so bad. So they just would rather ignore it, would just rather walk away. We need to start screaming Once this happens, if you know your girlfriend or your child or daughter, if you know anybody mess with your girl child, you must make noise about it. Do whatever it takes to make sure that the perpetrator is punished for his behavior, for his actions. The only way they get away with it. And unfortunately, some of these people who have money, when their sons get engaged in this kind of activities, they just go to the courts and pay money to the police or whomsoever, and their children, their sons are let go. It's not just in, many of you have seen incidents here in the United States where some young men raped girls and they got away with it because their family was wealthy. You know that happens. But this is why we need police reforms. That's why we need legal reforms. They must be held to account. What happened at Ozoro Festival should not happen again. It should not happen again. It shouldn't have happened in the first place, but it absolutely shouldn't happen again. It should not be tolerated by anybody. It should not be tolerated. Our young girls deserve to live free. Our young girls deserve to feel comfortable in their own countries. They need to feel free of violence. These girls, once they are violated, they have to live with not just that violence, but the mental anguish that comes with it. And they don't make good parents. They try. That trauma they take with them, and sometimes some children have to pay the price for what she went through because her anger, she was a victim, and sometimes she takes that anger on vulnerable children. So we must not assume, because the activity is over. We must stop. We have to change the way we think about rape. We must not have that attitude that things will get better. Things don't get better unless we intervene. If we want things to get better, then we'll have to be a part of it. We have to ensure that it gets better. We need to be the eyes, the ears, the mouth for these victims. Change our cultural way of thinking. And that's why this show is called Not Our Culture. It's Criminality. Nigerians are not criminals. Because if you say that's our culture, then that means we are all criminals. Because such activities is not culture. It's criminal behavior and immoral behavior. Pardon me. So anybody who thinks that this stuff will go away if we're just silent is making a mistake, because you're just feeding the beast. I am pleased that more and more people are talking about this. But what's important is not so much to talk about it, it's to take action. I talked about what action that we have to take. I'm just going to run over that again, just very briefly. Education and awareness. We must educate, and make aware so people understand that rape and gender abuse is not acceptable. We must have a stronger legal framework, advocates for the enforcement of stricter laws against gender-based violence. We must ensure that the perpetrators face, the severest of penalties, because that activity that you had fun doing may destroy a life. You are destroying a life, somebody's life. So penalties must be grave. Pardon me. And of course, the community has to come together. It takes a village. We need to talk to those young men. We need to talk to our daughters. We need to be a part of it. If we see that it happened, say something about it. Don't ignore it. If a victim is reporting that they've been victimized, do not ignore it. Listen to them. Offer your support. Make them know it's okay. It's okay for them to speak up about what happened to them. Do not ignore them. Community must be engaged. I talked about support services for the victims. Yes, that's imperative. That's an imperative. We must provide them with counseling, psychological support. In Nigeria in particular, there are lots of individuals who are now engaged as advocates and trying to do the very best they can to help these women overcome these things that happen to them. Well, that's good. That's good. But we must do more. We must do more. We must continue to fight as a community. And women organizations, if you're a nonprofit organization and you're involved in the affairs of women, this is one area that you must make noise about. The African Women Mobilization Commission, this is one area that we are engaged in, uplifting girls. We have one of our programs called Black Girls Rise. And those are the kinds of things that we're looking into, ensuring that these young girls are protected, that mentally they're prepared to move, go through school and perform in school. But, when people are being abused physically and mentally, they can't perform in school. So it's very, very important that all the organizations that are taking care of young women and children, that they must ensure that part of their focus is on the eradication of gender-based violence. And again, I talked about police reform. I'm very particular about that because there are some police officers that take bribes and then they turn their backs on such cases. So if you're a police officer and you do know that these things happen, it's imperative that, think about your own daughter, think about your wife. Anybody who thinks it will not happen to them, think again. It does happen. It happens when you least expect it, and to the people you least expect that it will happen to. So that means that it could happen to your children, could happen to your wife, could happen to your sister, whomsoever who's female. So you must be an advocate, even if you're in the police. And the police department need to make sure that we are holding these people to account. We are holding them. We're making sure that they pay and pay dearly for these abuses. They're not light abuses. That's one of the things that people need to understand. These abuses are not light. They're lifelong stress on the minds of the victims. And some people just don't overcome it. And the people think, and particularly when these young girls are abused, people think, they'll get over it as they get older. They don't. It's in the back of their mind, and when the opportunity comes, it'll pop right back up. And that's what's so damaging about it. You're not free of it. You can overcome it to some degree, but you're not free of it. When the situation rears its ugly head, when a situation happens that can stir it back up, here it comes again. And you're thinking about it again. So you're never really free of it. But it helps when you get support. It helps when you get support. So that's why we must support our women, our victims. I'm going to take a quick break and share a video with you, and I'll come back. We'll talk about it on the other side. Yes, indeed. We're going to be having upcoming shows with guests, and we want you to be one of our guests. Do you have something that you want to share? Do you have something you want to celebrate? Do you have information that you think the world needs to know? Are you that kind of person that's a mover and a shaker? What is it that you have to offer the world that people want to hear? If you want it to be heard, contact us at the Ntomodu show at gmail.com, and we will be sure to evaluate what you have to offer and put you on our show. We're looking forward to having very good speakers. We have entrepreneurs. Um, if you're an educator, maybe a scientist, a parent, or entrepreneur, whomsoever, whatever it is that you have to offer, we would like to interview you. And this coming week, this coming Saturday, we're going to be interviewing two individuals. One is the young lady that we got from the camp, the IDPS camp, Aisha. And Aisha we got her when she was 10 years old. Now she's 12, and she was in the internally displaced people's camp. And now she is in school in Abuja, Nigeria, and she's doing extremely well. There's so many such young people that we are helping, picking them out of their situation. And that's what we say, the condition is permanent. We get them out of there and we put them in school, and we make sure that they continue to blossom and do well, to thrive. That's what the African Women Mobilization Commission does. And so if you have something, maybe you have an organization, a nonprofit, you have something very important that you want to share, then please get in touch with us. We would like to hear from you at the Ntomodu show at gmail.com. And I'll just put this up there so you can know how to get in touch with us. Again, it's you can follow us on our social media, get in touch with us. The Ntomodu show at gmail.com. I'm going to let this sit here for a little while. And also, of course, I ask you to please subscribe to the Ntomodu TV on YouTube and visit omcglobal.org to know a little bit more about our organization. I want to just end this conversation today with some thoughts for our women, young and old alike. Know who you are. Know who you are. You are the cause and the reason for generations that have come and gone, and the ones coming in the future. Life comes through you. You are important. You are sacred. If you've heard, they say that eagles are sacred. You are a sacred eagle. And you have deserved the right to be as free as an eagle, to fly wherever you want to go. It is your right. You are a woman. You are important. You are a warrior. The world knows you as a warrior. You will fight for your children. You will fight for your family. You will fight for your community. And when there are many things going on, all the marches that you see, majority of the marchers are women, because women fight for causes that uplift. You are important. Know that. You are as wise as the great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers, and their wisdom is still accessible to you through the power of your mind, through the power of your spirit. You are a woman. You are powerful. Nobody can define you but you. You have the responsibility to define yourself. Do not buy into the definition of depraved human beings who want to target you because they are lacking in morality. You have to remember that. You are your own best friend. You are a survivor. Know that. In spite of all of this nonsense that happens, and if I may speak to those who experienced the tragedy of the Ozoro Festival, I just want you to remember that. Go beyond what happened. Don't let that fester in your mind. We are going to continue to advocate, obviously, that justice is served, but don't let this define you. Go beyond your humanness. There is an unlimited world out there for you. Don't let this situation become your reality. What they did to you at that festival, they will pay the price for it. But you are going to rise beyond that. You are a woman, and I want you to remember that there's nothing in this world that's too good for you. There's nothing that you want that you cannot have because you're a woman. And if anything like this had happened to you, if you find if you have been living through gender violence, speak up. There are people who will listen. Find them. If you don't speak up, nobody knows what's happening to you or what happened to you. But you've got to speak up. There's nothing you need that doesn't already exist. You have to find it. If you're going through if you went through or you're going through the challenges of gender abuse, do not stay in an environment that abuses you, because you deserve better. You deserve better. You do not have to stay with anybody who abuses you. That is not God's design for you. God, whatever name you call the divine, Chineke. In my own case, I call the divine Chineke. Chineke has a design for you, and that is you have so much to give to the world in spite of all of this. See, the universe will pick you up each and every day that you have breath, but you have to believe it. You have to speak it into the world. You let the universe know, I'm here. I'm a woman. I'm proud. I'm here. And when you do that, when you speak up and let everybody know that I am proud of who I am, and you stay clear of all those depraved human beings, you're going to be okay. Father God will pick you up, and Mother God will hold you up, and you can walk around this world, this earth, in holy boldness, and let the world know, I am a woman, and I am so very proud to be one. You deserve respect. You deserve not to be victimized. You deserve to be free. And many of us will continue to speak on your behalf. I'm a woman as well. So when I say that, I'm speaking on my own behalf as well. So, having said that, I want to thank all of you for joining me today. And don't forget to contact us, the ntomodoshow@gmail.com. I look forward to the next week interview with our special guests. And until then, you take care.